No one has done this before, not that I know of anyway. I think I'm going to title this video an unbiased review by a biased person, which doesn't make any sense at all, does it? Right, so what we have here, my right hand, your left, is the Daedalus light. And then my left hand, your right, is my fancy bike thing light. They both do a very similar thing. Well, they both do exactly the same thing, really, when it comes to being out there and what other people see with regards to what the LED does. But we're actually going to do a view. I haven't plugged these in yet. Okay, I've only just received this and I haven't actually plugged them into the bikes that I've got here. What we're going to do is we're actually going to put them on the bike side by side. I've got two R90s here, so we're going to see them on the bikes side by side and we can do a fair comparison. Why am I doing this? First of all, I am not going to slate this product. This product is friggin' cool. It's really, really nice. I'm impressed with it. So if anyone is going to buy this Daedalus light, you're not going to be disappointed, because it is an absolute work of art. So the owners of Daedalus, they don't know I'm doing this. They will once you're seeing this. And I've got no reason to think why they'd be disappointed that I'm actually doing this review, because I've got nothing bad to say about it. Let's crack on then. I'm going to put those down there. These are the bikes that we're going to fit them to. I've got an R90 Sport here on a 2016 plate, and I've got an R90 Racer on a 2018 plate, and I'm going to put the Daedalus on the R90 Sport Roadster and the fancy bike thing on the R90 Racer. So as you can see, I've got different camera angles here all over the place. I've got lots of artificial light. I've got my doors open on my workshop. Try and get as much light in here as I possibly can. Let's get on and get this installed and let's see what it's all like. But let's do the first things first. We're going to check the weight. Let's have a look at what basically you're going to get through the post. If you're going to order a fancy bike thing tail tidy kit, what's it going to look like when it arrives? If you're going to order a Daedalus tail tidy kit, what's it going to look like when it arrives? So taking a look at these on my workbench. Here's the Daedalus, pretty much a similar size box. Obviously this one's been through the postal network, probably made all its way, well it's made all its way from San Francisco to the UK. And obviously this one hasn't been through the postal network, and it would normally come in a plain bag, so you wouldn't see any of the branding on the outside, which is very important because you don't want sticky fingers in courier networks taking what they like. So what we're going to do, before we even open this up, as you can see here, I've got a set of weighing scales. This probably isn't important. It's not important to me knowing what the packaged weight is, but some of you might like to know what the packaged weight is. Turn that on, make sure it's at 0. We're doing this in grams. So we're going to weigh the fancy bike thing one first. If I just get a close-up of that, hoping we can see that. And the weight of that is just under 1.4 kilos. Now let's do the Daedalus light. That's a bit longer, it is. And the packaged weight of the Daedalus is just over a kilograms. So you can see the weight difference. So it's 1,043 grams. So already the Daedalus is winning on packaged weight. I think the next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually unbox the items so you can see what you get inside the box, what's the presentation like as you open it, because if you're spending £300 on a fancy bike thing, that's a lot of money. That's a hell of a lot of money. You want to make sure the quality looks fantastic, it's exactly what you're expecting, and if you're spending between $500, $600, depending which Daedalus light you go for, it can you know, you obviously want twice as much quality. So if you open up the fancy bike thing, and this is what you get. So a styrofoam lid to it, and as you open it, you'll see, just bring the camera closer, you'll see everything's got its own compartment. So it's all very safe if the package gets knocked in transit. So there is your light. That's one side. And then when you pull out the top part, you have the under tray, which is made of steel. This is probably the main reason why this is marginally heavier than the Daedalus light. So this is made out of, I can't remember if it's 2 or 3 mil steel now, and then it's brightsync plated and then painted, and then the brightsync plating will prevent it from rusting. And you've got a rubber strap on the back to prevent water being kicked up, getting into here. It doesn't matter if water does get into here. I hear a lot of customers saying, oh, you know, they're taking their seat off and they can see watermarks in there. That's quite normal. Okay, that's why we have drain holes. But that does prevent a lot of the mud getting kicked up under the rear wheel into the under the seat of the bike. So that's the heaviest part. Then what we have here is an optional license plate bracket. So you don't, some customers use it, some customers don't use it. The bike we're going to be fitting this to today is not going to be using it because he's already got a side slung license plate. And then we have the optional, once again, I must stress optional, indicator bracket. This will fit underneath here, like so. And it's up to you if you decide that you want to install that and put your OEM indicators or Rizomas or whatever you want onto that, which would then make the LED just a run light and a brake light and not indicators. And that actually gets past a lot of laws across the world in different countries. If you use it just as a run light and a brake light and use your indicators separately attached to this, that makes the bike kind of road legal. However, the LED isn't E-certified on either of the lights, but I'll go into that in more detail shortly. And also in the box you get your fixing bolts, and it's very important to add that all of the fitments for these fixing bolts, they are all Torx head. They are exactly, well, not exactly like BMW because but they are Torx head, the same as what BMW have on their bike. So it's all Torx head fitting bolts to fit it to your bike, not hex heads. And then we have an R&G license plate light, which would then fit to here, and then that plugs directly into the harness at the back of the light. So there's that there, the license plate would go into there. If you don't want to install it, it's fine, but we sometimes find, which we'll talk about in a moment, sometimes find if you don't plug in the license plate light, it can create an error on your dash because it knows that it hasn't got a license plate light attached. And so what some people do will probably put a resistor on there or plug it in, put some tape around it, because it's only LED, it doesn't really get hot. Put some tape around it and then tuck it under your seat if you really don't want to have a license plate light. Obviously you should do because it's the law. So that's the fancy bike thing. Let me pop all that back into its respective places. Right, move that to one side and let's look at the Daedalus. Okay. Right, so as you open the box, it hasn't got the polystyrene foam like the fancy bike thing, but it has got polystyrene foam, but it's like universal polystyrene foam. So to me, it is protected. I'd be happy with this if it was delivered to me like this. There's no problem with this at all. You get a really nice card in here, giving you instructions. Well, it's like a thank you. I do like this. It's a nice touch, but for the money, you know, you kind of expect it. It is really, really nice. On here you've got instructions of how to download the installation instructions, how to view them on their website. So just to go back to the fancy bike thing very, very quickly, every order that fancy bike thing gets, the customer automatically gets a link emailed to them which takes them through to the installation instructions. So there's that. So let's take out the main event, because here it is. Now it is absolutely beautiful. Now, it's funny actually, because when it's arrived, I showed it to my wife, and the first thing she said was, "Oh, that's really ugly." But it doesn't matter because it's not seen. So I like what they've done here. They've put various resistors on a little PCB. Well, I suppose it is some sort. It is like a PCB, printed circuit board. I like all the installation they've done all around it. I can see exactly how it's all been wired up. It's really good. It's very, very professional. Whereas on the fancy bike thing, the resistor that is used is installed within the harness. Also, you'll notice that the plug on here is different to the plug on the fancy bike thing, which I'll show you later when we start installing it on the bike, that they both get installed into completely different places. But they both have the same result. Just to finish up on this, from a consumer's perspective, looking at a piece of engineering, not from an engineering perspective because I'm not an engineer, but looking at it from a consumer's perspective, it really is beautiful. Like if you look at that, it's not quite symmetrical; it's asymmetrical. It comes up here, but when it's, well, I'm assuming, I haven't fitted it yet. When it's all fitted, it all fits lovely, and there's no like major gaps allowing lots of traffic, dirt to get up underneath the bike. These are not OEM BMW plugs on here, but I'm assuming that they will be waterproof. I'm sure they will be, but they do look good quality. So there's nothing wrong with that there. It's nice and light for what it is. I must also stress that the LED strip, it's sourced by the exact same supplier. The actual LED strip is patented. These cannot be sourced from anywhere apart from one location, because it's something that I personally have actually looked into to try and replicate it by going somewhere else, you know, and paying less for it to try and drive the price down of my products. But there's a patent on it. One of the things that I love about this, I actually do love about this, it's this beautiful aluminium edging here. The whole thing's aluminium, but the way it's been machined around here, showing all the bright, you know, the bright bare alley there, it's absolutely lovely. There is a reason why I still prefer the fancy bike thing over the Daedalus, which I'll probably talk about once it's on the bike. But if you like that, then this is for you. This really is. And it is beautiful. Also in here, wrapped up in a bit of bubble wrap, is, I assume it's optional, just like the fancy bike thing. You have your license plate holder and lights all attached. It's a Rizoma light, which is very, very good. And it literally fits, there's instructions, it fits under here like that. And you've got little hex bolt, I think they're hex bolts up there, and you tighten them up and it goes inside here like that. And then also in here you get fixing kits. So there's various different fixing kits and things for, I mean, well, I haven't looked at these full instructions yet, but these here I'm pretty sure will be for fitting extra indicators, if you want to fit extra indicators, which is beautiful quality. Movie recording has been stopped automatically. Why? And then there's other spaces here, but we'll get to know what all these do when we start fitting it. So I'm not 100% sure. Right, okay, so let's put that back in there. Oh, that's the other thing, yes. Let's also weigh the actual finished product. Right, so we're going to weigh the Daedalus first. This is basically all of the kit that will be fitted to the bike, and that's coming in at 676 grams. 676. Now let's weigh all the components that will be fitted. This is obviously minus the bolts. All the components that will be fitted to the bike if you're doing the fancy bike thing. So, 100 tray, one license plate bracket, one license plate light, so it's already going right over, and there we have it. That is 990 grams. 990 grams, so 676 versus 999 grams. So once again, the Daedalus wins on weight. on your bike. If that's important to you, then you must take that into consideration. Right, with the Fancy Bike Thing light, you'll notice there's two mounting holes on the bracket. So I've got it on the middle one. When I say middle one, there's only two there, but it's in the middle of the tab. It's the original mounting point that was made for this light to go with the hump. So this is for the hump. If you want to put a rear pillion seat on here, all you do is unscrew those and move it back a fraction and use the holes at the front, or the back should I say. That moves the light in at the right amount of distance, so when the seat comes down it fits nice and snug around the back. However, with the Fancy Bike Thing, I haven't got a rear seat to show you. With the Fancy Bike Thing light, you'll find that the seat, when it comes down using the screwdriver, rather than sit on top of the LED, it sits around about there. So you get enough space, like of black plastic, about enough space to fit another LED strip really. So it still looks very, very nice, but you'll notice that on the Daedalus solution, it's a much tidier setup, and it comes with spaces and everything where you can set the light higher or lower depending on whether you're using the seat or the rear hump, which is another plus for Daedalus. Right, so what we've got here, so this is the RnineT Sport, and sorry, I didn't say I was going to show you the whole installation. So we need to try and get this video as quickly and punchy as possible. So it looks fantastic, this does, as it's going on. Bearing in mind this is a 16 plate, is it 16? Yeah, it's a 16 plate bike. So there's a bit dirty underneath here, so it's done a fair few miles I think. So as this goes on, it's very, very neat. It's just 4 screws. Now I'm sure it's me, I'm sure it is just me, but I couldn't make any of the bolts in the pack fit here. But I'm sure it's me. So I've actually used the OEM screws that come with the bike, which I always recommend even my own customers to do that with the Fancy Bike Thing. If the OEM screws fit, then use the OEM ones. The hex head bolts that come with a Daedalus bike, I just couldn't get the thread in. I don't know why. One of the things I've noticed with the OEM screws is they have a very nice tapered, you see that? They've got a very nice tapered, come on, focus. Oh, it's manual focus, sorry. They've got a very, very nice tapered head on them, so obviously that helps it go in. So the only thing I can think of is that it wouldn't go in because it's got they've got a very, very flat edge to them. That's the only thing I can think of. Right, anyway, that I'm sure that is me though, but I probably didn't persist for long enough. So when it's in there, all the rear wiring harness can be completely removed. So you'd literally come into here and take, you get some snips, and we're literally going to take the that whole piece out. That whole piece is coming out. It's not needed. So that's quite neat, that is, because it really does tidy up the back end of the bike, because then you've got this very, very nice finished harness here, which pops over the top. And you plug it into the plug that's available down here. Only goes in one way because they're all polarized. To do this, you also have to remove this part here. This is no big issue, having to remove this and then pop it back in again. Whereas the Fancy Bike Thing, you don't have to remove this at all. Really, what I should have done is it's gone underneath here and undo this, but I'll do that in a minute, off camera. Right, so if we come over to the Fancy Bike Thing on the Racer, so as you can see here, I've stripped down the back. I haven't gone underneath here, so it's quite funny actually, because on the 2018 model, you don't get, it looks nothing like the 2014 model. You still got all the same plugs under there. You've got more room, but it's not that silver ECU box underneath there. So we don't need to. You actually don't need to take the rear, the rider seat off. The rider seat doesn't have to come off to fit the Fancy Bike Thing tail kit. You don't even go in here. So using the harness that comes off, the bike which we took off from the other one, we're now going to put the under tray on and make it all look nice and neat and tidy, and then and tidy this all up underneath here. So let's turn the cameras back on once I've got everything put back together again. Right, so I've just put the under tray on for the Fancy Bright thing. 4 screws, same as the Daedalus. Obviously the light is separate. The harness on this one, it comes from the side here, and we literally bring it around across the top, and all the connections still happen inside here, just like an OEM connection would be. So there are that's the harness, the BMW harness coming from the bike, and you pick and choose what you want to connect. Obviously the straightforward connection is we take the brake light, this is the run brake light plug from the bike, and we plug it in to the same socket that you would have had on the OEM brake light, which is now installed onto this harness that comes with the Fancy Bike thing light, and we literally push that in. Obviously it won't go that way because it's polarized. Pop it in until it clicks. So that right now is just run and brake light connected. We haven't got the indicators plugged in at all. So this is really helpful and very handy for people who don't want to use this for indicators. But then we've got the indicator plugs. You'll notice that all the plugs that I use on the Fancy Bike thing are BMW OEM plugs. I don't get them copied anywhere in China. That'd be illegal. Copyright law, there's quite stringent laws on this. So and this is probably the main reason why it's quite a high price point at £300 or £299 for the Fancy Bike thing tail light. It's because of these plugs. BMW don't do discounts. Well, they do, but they're just not the discounts that we can that normal people can negotiate. And every year the price goes up. It's crazy. And I buy them in hundreds, not just 1 or 2 at a time, because I sell 50 or 60 of these a month. So I have to buy these literally 100, 200 at a time. Right, so, and then to connect them, obviously you just put them into the same connections that the original indicators were in. As you can see, that's the way around, won't go, turn it around. Now I don't click it all the way down to begin with, because I want to test that I've got the right ones. Left is to left and right is to right. So I always turn the bike on and do the right indicator, and we got it right first time. So now we've got it right, now I can click them in, because they're a bit of a pain to get your nail under there to pull them out again. So now they won't come undone, and the watertight, the seal is doing its job. So then we've got the license plate light, the power for them. I'm gonna be turning the camera off and channeling this down to his light that he's already got on his swing arm, instead of putting the license plate light underneath. Oh yeah, and to make this all nice and tidy, all we do is we, without putting any serious kinks in there, because there's a resistor in there, and we don't want to bend that part of the harness. So you've got to be very, very careful, and we just curl it around, use some cable ties. But obviously I don't want to tie this all up just yet, because I still need to get this wire down to the license plate. Right, so I just want to give some close-up work on this. So everything's back together. As you can see, we've got the Fancy Bike thing on the racer, as I originally said. I have actually put both the lights on both bikes, only because I wanted to test any dash errors, because there are reports over the years where people get dash errors on their bikes. Neither of these create a dash error on either bike, and I will show you that in a moment when I put it on, when I turn it on. Now, this is me showing you nice and close up of it all. Hoping there's enough light. I'll take it outside because it's stopped raining now. Typical British day. And I'll show you some other pics outside as well. Right, what I want to talk about first. Let's talk about the Fancy Bike thing first. Okay, so now what I want you to pay very close attention to is I've put the license plate bracket on here, although we're taking it off because my customer has got a side light on here, a side swing arm license plate mount from a different manufacturer, so I'm going to be putting the light there. But I thought it's only fair to put this on here to show it like for like, because the Daedalus have got the version I've got here has also got the rear license plate light and mount. Okay, so now looking at this, okay, this is just an ABS plastic going around, and you'll notice that the LED is nicely, it's kind of like very slightly by 1 mil or 2 mil recessed in here. So it's not quite flush with this and this, which makes it fantastic. And you'll notice it's the same on the Daedalus, if not more so actually. So if you like a very, very slick, hidden, or almost a hidden mount that you can't see, it's all about the light just being attached to the rear radius of the bike. This is perfect. And for £300, £299, you can't really go wrong. Then we come over to the Daedalus. Now, as you can see, all that aluminium which we saw the under tray, that's now, you can't see that, but you can see this really lovely, beautiful, shiny finish here, and it is spectacular. It's a very, very pretty thing, and it suits the rear hump in silver magnificently. It really does look really, really good. But it goes away from what I was trying to achieve when I invented the FBT light, which is, it's bulkier. There's more there, but it's still a damn sight tidier than the OEM tail light. And this is also a beautiful bit of kit. Screws up inside here. It's very sturdy, very, very nice indeed. Right, so let's turn them on and do a comparison inside before we take it outside. Right, so let's turn this one on. So this is the Daedalus, so it's the alarm on the bike. So we just want to check there's no errors. So right now, if we look at the rear light, it does look really, really good. Very, very good. So you can see I've got no errors with the run light. I'm going to now hit the brake light. So I'm hitting the brake there. And we still got no errors at all. I just wish this camera would focus. So no errors there. Let's put the hazard lights on. Still no errors. Obviously the ABS light's flashing. That will do until you start and roll and ride away. Left indicator, right indicator. Absolutely fine. We can all agree. Now we come over to the fancy bike thing. Turn the ignition on. And heater grips are coming on. No errors at all. Let's look at the back of it. There's your run light. And now I'm going to put the brake on. And we still have no errors at all. I'll wait for that to come in focus. And we still have no errors. Let's put the indicators on. That's the hazards. Any errors? No errors. Left indicator. Right indicator. No errors. Fantastic, I'm pleased. So no extra resistors have been installed. And there we have the two bikes. Side by side. Fancy bike thing on the left and Daedalus on the right. At night time, you wouldn't know. But getting up close and personal in daylight, you can see a difference. And actually, here's a good thing to look at as well. Looking at the angle of the license plate light, they're pretty much the same. I'm looking across the two of them right now, and they are pretty much the same. So just get a different angle on this. Excuse me, looking at the roof of my workshop. Right, and let's turn the indicators on as well. I'll put the hazards on both of them. So this is the one thing I take a lot of care in, making sure that the LED strip is put in very, very centrally. Across to the, and same with Daedalus. It's slightly offset to the right a little bit, but it's no big deal. When you're using just the indicator, you would never know. Right, let's get them outside and see what the visibility is like. Actually, no, before we do that, I want to do a comparison on the difference on the brightness of the brake light. So turn the hazards off. Right, so using the camera that's there, I'm going to put this brake light on and this brake light on. So are there any differences? Because although the LEDs are identical, the resistors that are used to get the brightness for the run light are going to be different. There's going to be a difference in what we've done here. So which one is more noticeable? I'm assuming Daedalus have still wired up their brake light to be 100% effective. So right now they should be both as bright as each other, but it's when you come off the brake and you've got it in run light situation, how bright is it? Because I'm having a good look at it myself, and I can't tell them apart. They look like they're running the same resistance. They look exactly the same resistance. Whereas on older models that I used to sell over a year or 18 months ago, I used to fit a different resistor, which came with the LED actually. A different resistor where the brightness of the run light was brighter, which made the difference between the run light and the brake light less significant. So a lot of motorists couldn't see the difference. Whereas now, you can really see that difference. Right, let's get them outside. So we've got them outside, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, very overcast, so there's no bright sunlight, so I can't do the bright sunlight test. I do have a video though on my channel somewhere. I'll put a link up above showing you that video, where it might be on Instagram to be fair, so I'm not 100% sure. Right, so it's good to obviously see it in daylight so you can get an idea. My back, sorry, I've got a bad back. That's ever since I fell off my motorbike in Budapest. It's never been right since. So there we are in daylight for that one, and here we are in daylight for this one. Obviously it's a little bit unfair because I do personally feel that this light on the fancy bike thing does look better against the silver. Right, so let's fire them up. Right, so there we go. So you've got to get down quite low actually. Actually, I've just noticed that, and now I'm outside, the recess on the Daedalus that it goes back quite a lot. Can you see that? So if I come down at the same level as the light, you can see it. But as I come up, when are we out of? When do you lose view of that rear light? So right now, I can't see the rear light. Let's step back a bit. Now it's there. I'm not holding it too high. As you can see on the camera behind me, I've got the camera literally just under my chin. As I come in a bit closer, I'm losing sight of the rear light. So with the FBT, it's still recessed as we know. As I stand up, I've still got visibility up here. No way! Got to be kidding me. That was lucky. My iPad just took a fall in the wind. Very unfortunate. Right, okay. Yeah, so as you can see, as you come back at the level of the brake, As I stand up, and as you can see on the camera behind me, I'm going higher and higher and higher. I can still see that brake light. Whereas we come over to this one from the back, and I start raising up, I'm losing sight of that light. So we're thinking about van drivers and lorry drivers, especially during the daylight. I suppose at night time it's not an issue because it's still going to set off a lot of light. But although it does look bloody stunning, that Daedalus light, it really does, it's set back a bit too far, and I can't see a way of bringing that back any further. Saying that, there might be some bits in the kit where that can be pulled back a little bit more, so I'll hold judgment on that. So I'll confirm that shortly on the video, because I could be completely wrong. I'll have a look. Go back in the workshop and have a quick look to see if there's anything that extends the actual whole unit backwards, which will eliminate that problem, because that actually is quite a serious problem. And I promise you, I swear, I'm not trying to badmouth Daedalus in any way. It's a beautiful, beautiful product, and I actually don't want to find fault with it at all. I just want to everyone to see the similarity between the two kits, so you can make a decision whether you want to spend £500–600 plus dollars plus whatever, or you want to spend £299 on the same LED but on a different mount. It's completely up to you. Right, so that's kind of a wrap. Now obviously there's more I could show you. I could show you the swing arm mount, which I'm going to be doing shortly, to this bike here, the Racer, because that's what the customers asked for. I could fit the optional indicators if you really wanted that to see what that's like, but you know, time's of the essence and all that. What I just wanted to show you was that and to confirm, the LED is identical between the fancy bike thing and the Daedalus light. They are the same LED. The Daedalus wins hands down based on the initial design. Just looking at it as it comes out the box, it looks phenomenal. It's fantastic. You know, if you were going to hang this light on your wall and frame it, you're going to go for the Daedalus, but we're not. We're going to stick it on our bike. So based on that, it's going on a bike, and for me, and obviously I am biased, but I'm trying to keep this as unbiased as I possibly can, which I know is a very difficult thing to do because they're both got the same LED on this, so I can't really diss one or the other, really, and I'm not going to. That is not my objective. I'm not here to badmouth anybody, but for me, it's still the fancy bike thing. Reasons why. First of all, the mount is very flexible, so under heat, and not necessarily a lot of heat, a hairdryer, if you hold a hairdryer around the whole mount, you can shape it as you want. So I've had a lot of customers over the last 4 years, because we've been doing this for over 4 years now, where they've bought just the light. They haven't bought the whole tail tidy kit, and they bought just the light, which I sell for £249 on the website. And the reason they buy just the light is because they've got other ideas of what they want to do with the rear end of the tail. And I've seen emails and stories and pictures and videos of my light being used in different ways, where it's been mounted in a different way, and they've slightly shaped it to make it work, to the point where I've seen people put it on Triumphs. Well, the thing is, I actually make a Triumph version now as well, which you can see on the Fancy Bike Thing website. The whole concept for me in the first place was, I don't want you to see the mount. It's all about having the LED, but I don't want to stick the LED on the actual hump itself either, because then that limits you to not using the rear seat. So it had to sit just beneath, literally touching the rear racing cowl, but I didn't want it to be seen. And the reason I have that little black lip there is just to stop all the rubbish and gunk coming up from underneath the bike and like sticking around the bottom of the LED. So I put a little shelf on there, which also makes it a lot easier when you're actually applying the LED to the mount. So that is fit for purpose. And just to catch up from where I was outside, which was a new finding for me, if you're a lorry driver or a van driver coming up behind the motorbike, you're not going to necessarily see the Daedalus light as well as you are with a fancy bike thing. You're just not. You saw it for yourself when I was literally raising and lowering the camera. It wasn't visible. Since that, I've come back into here. I've read through the instructions on Demoto Daedalus's website, and there are no adjustments to take that back and forwards. There are spaces in the kit where you can set the light higher or lower depending whether you're putting the rear pillion seat on but right now that is set up for the rear racing cowl, so that is non-adjustable. It's great for cars, other bikes behind, but for lorries and vans the visibility is not right, and I'm sure when Daedalus hear this, they probably already had this feedback from customers already. I'm not sure. I haven't seen it anywhere, but when they see this, they'll probably make an adjustment because they're pretty on the ball. Those guys are. So I've got nothing bad to say about them at all because it is a fantastic product. But I feel that because I found that, I think it's my duty to kind of like mention it because I'm trying to keep this as an unbiased review. If you try and imagine that I am just Joe Public. The thing is, Joe Public's not going to go out and spend $1,000 on 2 lights for one bike, is he? So I think I'm the only guy who can do this review, or maybe Daedalus can do a review. You know, I'm fine with it as long as no one's bad mouthing anybody. It's a complete fair review. Because why am I doing this? Well, I believe that there's a massive following for these bikes. Well, there's a huge following for the RnineT, and there's a lot of people out there who love the slimline LED that goes around the back. And there's lots of forums, lots of questions. Which one do I go for? Fancy bike thing, or do I go for the Daedalus? Daedalus is a lot of money. Why the Daedalus? Why not the fancy bike thing? And you're always going to get someone who's got a Daedalus, who's going to say wonderful things about a Daedalus. And I've read stuff where they said bad things about the fancy bike thing light, and they know nothing about the fancy bike thing light. They haven't even got one. They haven't even seen one. And vice versa, where people have got a fancy bike thing light, and their only defence is, well, I wouldn't spend twice as much on the same thing just for a bit of aluminium. So, and that's also not fair as well. So this is me just bringing to you something which I think the public, not the general public, but the RnineT public want to see. Side by side, Daedalus fancy bike thing. I think it's great. It excites me. I sell a lot of these lights already, so I'm not bothered too much about Daedalus doing fantastic. I think it's wonderful. We actually do have 2 very, very different products. It's just the same LED that's on there. So my summary of it is, yeah, I would still go for the fancy bike thing because of the versatility of it, and whether you want to use the license plate. I know you can do it with the Daedalus as well. It is very versatile. You can unplug the indicators, plug them in and out, rather than going straight to the actual plug under the seat like the Daedalus does. You know, if money is no object, and you really love the look of the Daedalus, then go for the Daedalus. It's fantastic. You know, it complements the bike so well, just as much as, say, the fancy bike thing complements the bike as well, because it follows that contour perfectly. Is there anything else that I can think about? You know, I could have come on here and I could have held the fancy bike thing in my right hand and held the Daedalus in my left hand and looked at the Daedalus and went, yeah, threw it over my shoulder. But I didn't, did I? I didn't do that. So, because I won't do that because it's a quality product. Right, so I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope I haven't missed anything. And, you know, if this video creates more sales for Daedalus and creates more sales for fancy bike thing, well, that's a good thing. That's a great thing. So, can I please ask you, because obviously this I've had to go and spend $600 on that light to get it to me, and I now need to find a buyer for it. So could I please ask you to subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this, because I'm going to do more videos in the future of some interesting things. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe. It does make a huge difference to the channel. It means it gives me a reason to keep on making more videos. I've been learning a lot about the algorithms that YouTube have, and why we need viewers to subscribe, why we need viewers to like or dislike. That's just as productive as a like as far as YouTube goes. Whether you like or dislike, I'm happy. And also leave a comment by interacting on the page, leaving comments and me responding. It's all really, really good for YouTube, and it helps me get to where I want my YouTube channel to go as well. So that would be fantastic if you could do that. It's just a little click. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.